Hello, learners. Hope you're keeping well. Today, we're looking again at the economic geography, okay? And we're looking at the main agricultural products of South Africa, all right? We're going to look at obviously the three main. We're looking at cattle, maize, and sugarcane. Now, learners, from the outset, I must say it doesn't mean that the other crops are not important. These are the main ones, and they have been chosen as part of your grade 12 curriculum. All right, so therefore, we are doing these three. Okay, so let's go on. Right, of course, we always look at the curriculum and what it's actually stating regarding this section. We're looking at the main products produced for home market and export market. I'll come across those, explain those concepts rather as we go through, and I will integrate the home and export market. All right, in the explanations itself. And obviously, we're going to look at cattle, maize, and sugarcane. Okay, right. We also, after we look at each one, we're going to apply the factors favoring that main product produced in terms of factors of South Africa and factors hindering the main products produced. I will also look at the importance of the product itself. Now, in many occasions regarding factors favoring, hindering, and the importance, you may find that the factors are similar as we move through the lesson. Okay, so my apologies for using up your data, that I may repeat things, but the difference is I will use different examples which are specific to either beef, maize, or cattle, maize, or sugarcane. And that is why I'll go over them each time. So my apologies again for data usage, but it's necessary. Okay, learners, let's go further. Right. Obviously, if we're going to link it to the home and export market, we need to have an understanding of what's the home market and what's the export market. Very important for us. Okay. Now, let's look at what's the home market. Also called, in many texts you'll see it, it's called the domestic market. Domestic means local. Okay, so here goods are produced. Well, obviously it's always produced uh, in South Africa, whether it's home and export market, and its main words, it's sold within South Africa. All right, here the goods are sold within South Africa. Okay, now, export market, and it comes from the term export because we are selling. Exporting means selling it to or sending it to other countries. And it comes from that explanation itself. Here, goods are produced for selling to other countries. All right. So, our hypermarket here, of course, it may consist of goods from overseas, but lots of the goods that are found here are produced in the country for the people of South Africa. Okay, checkers. Here, I'm going to take this sketch as if we have loaded the ship. Okay, and it's going out of the harbor to another country. All right. So that's exporting. So we produce the goods and we send it away. It's nice to have a visual of it. All right. So we got an understanding of that because we're going to apply it in our explanations. All right. Now we're going to start off with cattle farming. Cattle farming itself. And if you look at this, my apologies, I'm a bit thirsty today. All right, if you look at this each symbol here, okay, cattle, that's beef cattle, dairy cattle, and then we've got sheep and goats. And you can see how the cattle actually outnumber many things. all right, of the others, the sheep and the goats, meaning that cattle farming, whether it's beef or dairy cattle, is done to a great extent in this country, all right, great extent, all right, more than any other sort of ones here from the sheep and the goats, etc. Okay, and another fact you will look at here, learners, if I highlight this section, all right. It's actually more towards the northeast and east. That's where the bulk of our cattle farming is done. Okay, that's the bulk of it there in those areas. Not that it's done in not done in other areas. It is done, all right, but the bulk of it is in that area. Okay, let's go on. All right, let's start then. Cattle farming itself again. And move my face slightly. I'm sorry, I keep moving myself. I'm trying to be the center of attraction, not the notes. And I apologize for that. Okay, is one of the main types of farming, of livestock farming. We've seen that on the map. Okay, it takes place in the grassland regions, all right? Good pasture lands for grazing, etc. Okay, and that's where the bulk of the grassland regions is found in those areas, highlighted where the bulk of cattle farming is happening. Other things that we look at, it needs constant rainfall, over 400 millimeters per year, for the vegetation of grazing, all right, and also for the cattle, okay, but most important for the grazing, etc. Down there, we need the pasture lands, okay. Main areas of cattle farming in the eastern and northeastern sections of South Africa, as we highlighted there. All right. Infrastructure, some of the infrastructure that we would need here is abattoirs and feedlots. All right. And this greatly influences where beef production takes place. Okay. Remember, cattle are heavy. Try and lift one of them. Okay. They're heavy. Okay. So to transport over great distances is also a hassle and costly. So, abattoirs and also feedlots for the cattle. All right, if it's closer to the cattle, it's better. Okay, it saves a lot of money. So, therefore, farmers also look at the abattoirs where they're situated. And of course, more abattoirs will be situated to encourage cattle farming itself. Okay, now, South Africa has commercial farmers who produce major part of the 14 million head of cattle. All right. Of course, this is an approximate number. Lots of cattle, eh? All right. They play the biggest part in that, although they are smaller in number than the communal subsistence farmers. Okay. Now, when we look at that, all right, then there's a large number of communal subsistence farmers who produce approximately 40% of the cattle. Okay, obviously, even though the number of commercial farmers will be smaller because of technology, investment, large farms, etc., they hold a lot of cattle and their production is high. Okay, whereas the large number of subsistence farmers produce less, okay, per farm, all right, and therefore they'll have a lower number coming out, all right, but they all contribute. Okay, right, let's go on with this. Some factors favoring beef farming in South Africa. Okay, now market is important because, learners, if you don't have a market, why would we have commercial farmers? You understand, farmers. All right. No one wants to buy it. It's not there. But the factor favoring this, okay, is that beef is used by the large population of our country. Lots of people eat beef. Okay, so it's used in the home. Can we see you? We're talking about home and export markets now. Home, but also the export market. We're sending it to other countries. All right. We will notice that our consumption sometimes can be more than our production. That will reduce the exports. But over years, we do export. I'm going to give you an example here. In 2017, 32,000 tons of beef were exported. All right. And the value of 1.4 billion rand. That's a huge investment. All right. And it actually helps us in terms of a balance of trade, etc. Okay, bringing in money into the country. All right. A good thing here is that we have well developed commercial farmers. These guys are highly developed with machinery, technology. You understand all these things that they are involved in. Okay, like milking of the cows, etc. All this is happening with these highly developed, so they can have high production from their farms. Okay, we have labor supply, which is in abundance in our country. We have a high unemployment rate, so we have lots of labor supply. There's ongoing research, okay, that doing various agricultural centers, research centers that are happening in this country. So we do have ongoing research which improves the beef farming. All right. A good infrastructure, which is needed for transport. Okay. I'm just giving you some examples here. Good transport systems, all right, to move from the farm to the abattoir, etc. Okay. Or even if you're exporting, we have our ports and whatever that we can export from or to neighboring countries. We've got good infrastructure leading to that. And then we have other things like a good system of abattoirs, etc., in our country. All right. Parts of South Africa, and we looked at that, receive more than 400 millimeters of rainfall, like the eastern parts, which allow for more productive beef farming. And we also have a large amount of grassland regions. As we've seen, this is one of the factors. You can see these cows enjoying themselves on the grassland regions here, all right, which gives pasture lands, etc., for the cattle. All right, important. And another thing, it's required by the secondary sector. So it's favoring. Production is increasing because of the secondary sector. Now, this is making me a bit hungry, but I'll live with it till after the presentation. All right, and get my family to make some of this for me. Okay, right. For instance, sausage rolls, beef sausage rolls. Whoa, they look nice. Okay, so what you call it is this raw material, I'm going to call it a raw material, all right, uh, is used to make or manufacture the pies. In fact, the skin of the cattle is used even for leather. Okay, so because of that, it's a factor favoring production of it. Okay, some factors that hinder and negative factors towards beef farming. All right, a huge problem here, learners, droughts. Okay, uh, it actually causes losses in cattle. All right. And result possibly in more imports because now we can't export if there's a drought. We have to buy more to supply our demand by our consumers in our country. All right. And you can see this picture of a drought. Look at the cattle here. It's a sad story. All right. Very thin, etc. And sometimes farmers, what they do is as the season is progressing and the drought carries on. Okay, then they slaughter their cows. Okay, and sort of try to sell them or freeze them or whatever, so at least they can have more meat instead of the cows ending off like this. So it's a factor that is totally negative and it affects our country's lands. It affects our country a lot. All right. The large amount of communal subsistence farmers whose production is low. Okay. Now, this can be a factor, a negative factor, all right, in terms of producing, okay, beef, okay, to a large extent, because their production is low. And especially when we're starting to get the consumption being higher than the production. I'll talk about that later. All right. This does not supply as much. Okay, so we need to government or whoever needs to be involved in order to educate subsistence farmers, increase their production, bring them on the commercial basis. Okay, that could help. All right. Then we have other things like diseases, your foot and mouth disease, which is quite serious when it comes to cattle. All right. It's quite serious and it actually kills the cattle. We had mad cow disease that starts spreading, not as much in our country. All right. But these sort of illnesses that come in foot and mouth is more common. Okay. Increasing costs of farming, which makes it difficult. Cost increase. You know, your father and mother or guardian, all right, is complaining, whoa, the price of this and that is too much. You understand? We can't afford it. Remember, the farmers also, their costs go up. Okay. And they can't drastically increase prices. Okay. Because then people may not just buy. Okay. So that is a factor that hinder. Lack of institutional support. Okay, I'm going to talk about this now. Let's go through this first. Market access and market information for the communal farmers. Okay, who farming in a community, subsistence level, etc. And that's what I'm saying. It's a lack of support. This factor may be related to this factor. Okay, but there the production is low and also the lack of support for them from the institutions, from government. All right. They don't have much access to the market. Okay. And in fact, the market information of what the market is, how can they produce to sell to the market? All right. And if we use these factors, learners, all right, where we say to them, you know what, guys, if you can sell, we'll introduce you to the market. Okay. This is what can happen. You can earn your money, improve your quality of life. We'll bring in people to advise you, to show you. Then we could change these communal subsistence farmers. You understand? Because it benefits them and it benefits the production. Okay, right. Let's go on. The importance of the beef industry. It's a source of food supply. And you know, you will carry on with concepts like your proper food supply. You understand? Where you don't really have, you need food security, okay, in the country. Beef can play a big part, the production of beef, enough beef, okay? And it's a source of food buying for many people in the country. It's quite a favorite food for many people. You can see this guy. I decided to put a picture. Why do we keep on being with the serious stuff? You can see this guy here. Whoa, he's eating this steak. Can you see this nice steak down here? Whoa. All right. He's enjoying it. So it's a food supply, which is important. It does create employment, people working on the farms, all right, and all other areas. Remember, when we say creates employment, we don't only talk about the farm, all right? These products are taken and manufactured. So indirectly, it's playing its part in the secondary industry. Then we have restaurants, okay, in the tertiary sector, all right, where it's creating employment also. So it has a direct there on the farms and indirect. It supplies employment or creates employment, serves as raw material for manufactured products. Okay, important. All right, such as leather and food products, as this sausage rolls and whatever. Woof, I'm really getting hungry now. All right, so it serves as that. All right, uh, it earns foreign exchange because we selling it to other countries, we getting the money in, and it encourages the development of other industries using their products. Example, water tanks and livestock trailers. I just gave a few. So the commercial beef farmer needs this equipment. He needs the water tanks. All right. He needs the livestock trailers to transport his stuff. Now, these companies who are producing them, all right, they come up because of the beef farmer. Okay. Can you see? So it's such an important thing. Beside the economic development, all right, the specifics to the economic development. I'm going to switch the slide. This guy eating the steak is making me very, very hungry. All right, let me go forward. All right, now there's going to be a beef crisis. I call it the beef crisis in the future, it seems. All right, now we're going to look at this graph. The blue talks about the dark blue talks about the production. The lighter blue talks about the uh, beef consumption. Can you see that? I think people call that the navy blue, eh? You see, geographers don't know the colors. All right. So, but these two represent that. Can you see it? Now, what do you notice, learners, in all these sections heading from 2002 to 2024? The production is less than the consumption. That is a problem, learners. Consumption is greater than the production. I put it the opposite way. That means more people want beef than is being produced. And that's a hassle. And we need to find solutions, eh? Because there's an export market out there. All right. If we don't find, we'll have to increase imports. We want to export. We have a market out there. Let's not lose it. So we need to find it. We need to invest more time and effort and finance into it. And one of the ways, invest more into our communal farmers in order to increase production and make them more commercially orientated. Okay, more small scale farmers, etc., that we could help. Okay, like this emerging beef cattle farmers. All right, I should say beef or cattle, but I'm trying to overemphasize my point there. All right, so beef farmers. All right, we should, these emerging guys who lease land, all right, to farm on, we should actually support them and encourage more of these emerging farmers because it's going to be good. The production will increase, we'll have enough food in our country, plus we can export. All right, so that's the crisis, the beef crisis. Okay. Well, I hope we don't reach that where the beef prices go up and then it's going to cost us so much. Okay, and I'm going to lose out on my beef. Let's look at the next major one is maize farming. All right. Now, maize is extensively farmed and commercially on many farms. Maize is a huge product in our country. Huge. And I'm going to go further into it and tell you how huge it is. All right. Of course, our main areas is around here. All right. We look at the places like the Northwest, Mpumalanga, KwaZulu Natal. Big areas for maize farming. Huge. All right. Not that it's not farmed everywhere else, but it's much smaller there. These areas have the conditions suitable for farming of maize. Okay, so it's that area. All right. Let's go further. All right. Now I want to show you something here. It's compared to others like sunflower seeds, soya beans, groundnuts, sorghum, dry beans. All right. Look at maize here, learners. Look at maize. All right. This was for 2017, 2018. All right. Okay. So if we look at it here, the light blue is for 2017, 2018. And of course, the dark blue, I like to call it the dark blue, is for 2016, 2017. All right. But that's not the main issue here. The main issue I want you to focus on is look at how much maize is being produced compared to these other products here. Massive difference between them. So maize is regarded as the most important crop grown in South Africa. The production is higher than other crops. You can see it here, learners. High. Okay. Just out of a matter of interest. All right. This is not part of your curriculum. Okay. But I thought you need to know because we come up with this word white maize and yellow maize. So just as a point of interest, the difference between yellow and white, you would have guessed it, is due to the color of the nutritive tissue. Okay, which covers up the embryo. I've learned about the embryo in the bean also, or in the maize rather, in the seed called endosperm. Woo, interesting, eh? But anyway, that's not part of your curriculum. So if anybody asks you, geographer, tell me the difference between yellow and white maize, you know, just tell them about the embryo and the endosperm and whatever. It's quite interesting. All right. Okay, let's go on. So we learned it's the most important crop. Maize relies on warm weather. Okay, that is why these regions rainfall above 350 millimeters a year and consistent rainfall during the growing season. What we mean by consistent rainfall, this 350 millimeters of rainfall mustn't fall on one day and then doesn't fall again when it's a growing season. It must be spread out during the growing season, allowing it to grow properly. Okay, right. It's grown in relatively large quantities by subsistence farmers also for their own use. All right. It's grown in large quantities by them also. You find maize being grown on a subsistence level because it's a staple diet of South Africans. We all use, or most, over 95 or 98 or 99% of us use maize in our country. All right. It's quite a common food. Okay. Some factors favoring maize farming, as again in the other ones. And as I go through some of these lists, learners, I'm not going to waste your data because we discussed it already. So we know it's both home and export market. I'll show you some figures later. Okay. Then well-developed commercial farmers. Okay, factor favoring. Okay, you can see it here. Whoa, massive maize. All right. The labor supply, you know already. All right. From the previous one on bee farming, you need people to farm, and it's linked to the secondary sector also, where these people are producing the maize, and the tertiary sector ongoing research like bee farming. There's lots of research, improvement of seeds, etc., for growth, all right, fertilizers, all these things. And again, good infrastructure in terms of the transport systems, transporting it through the country and wherever it needs to be exported, things like silos to store the grain, all right, the maize, all these things are available. And you see that parts of South Africa receive consistently more than 350 millimeters of rainfall. It must be consistent. All right. Example, the Free State for the growing season, it's good. So we have quite a significant part of South Africa as situated in those areas, like the Free State, that have the good suitable rainfall for growing. And of course, warm temperatures over a large part of South Africa also to allow it to grow properly. We also learned that it's required by the secondary sector, same like bee farming. Here's an example. Iwisa. Can you see? Maize meal being produced and packaged. Okay, then we go to factors hindering. Once again, droughts, huge losses could result in more imports during those drought periods. And we have a large amount of subsistence farmers whose production is low. You've done that in bee farming, and you know less is produced. We have pests like the armyworms. Whoa, they are dangerous. They are dangerous. Look at this little picture here. All right. Look at here. All right. This was before, and this was after the armyworms went through the field. That was before, that was after. Okay. Sorry, let me get back to that slide. Okay. And of course, increased costs of farming, which makes it expensive for the farmers, and fluctuating prices. Fluctuating prices. You know, it's hard to plan how much to farm, what's the cost going to be if prices keep going up and down all the time. All right, it makes it difficult for the farmer. And when it's expensive, farmer produces, and suddenly the prices go down, and he's invested so much. All right, now he's at a loss. Okay. Importance of maize, it's a staple diet for most South Africans. They eat it. All right, your pap, etc. When you're having that braai, okay, pap and vlees and chakalaka. Woo. I'm now getting very hungry now. I just hope I can manage to finish this lesson. All right. Okay. It creates employment. We know that, as in beef farming. Again, it serves as a raw material. I'm sorry I'm going over this again, but of course, the examples will differ for manufactured products: paper, paint, textiles, medicine, food products. Okay, in all this it's used. It earns foreign exchange. All right, look at the places that it go to. All right, all these different areas it's going through. So it serves so many other countries. We export to them. So it brings in a lot of money. And of course, as in beef farming with maize, development of other industries, example, your fertilizer, your farm equipment, all those industries develop to a great extent, all right, because it's needed by this large production of maize by farmers. Okay, right, let's go on. Sugarcane. Now we look down here, we see it all along the east here. Eh? The climate makes it. All right, we can see that it's grown extensively in South Africa on a large level. All right, there's large scale and small scale farmers that grow sugarcane. Okay, even your small scale farmers grow it for for a commercial basis. Okay, so it doesn't. Can you see here? There's 20,711 small scale farmers. Okay, and there's 1,126 large scale farmers. So it's a lot of small scale farmers. Obviously, this 1,126 learners will produce far more than the small scale because their production is high. All right, their farms are massive. If you come along this areas here, you will see the large sugarcane farms that are found across this area. Hectares and hectares of land. All right, it's huge. Okay, but the small scale farmers contribute 10% of the total production. Quite significantly. Land is quite significant. All right, but you must think about those 1,126 large scale farmers. They must be, whoa, rich, eh? Rich people. All right, producing so much. Main areas in Pumalanga and KwaZulu Natal is massive. Okay, with the sugarcane. Sugarcane grows well in tropical and subtropical climate. And we know along the area here, okay, in KwaZulu Natal, it's subtropical climate, so the sugarcane just grows all the time. Okay, it needs sunny, frost-free weather. That happens here. We don't get frost along this area. With around 1,500 millimeters of rainfall, it needs a lot of rainfall. Sugarcane. And I don't know if you bought any sugarcane like that when you travel around these areas and you bite it, you actually get the liquid. So it requires a lot of water. All right. It's South Africa is one of the world's top producers of sugarcane. All right. It's one of the world's top producers. So we're quite massive at this. Generally, sugar is exported, not imported. We have enough sugar. That shows we're very sweet people, eh? Lots of sugar in our country. Sweetness of South Africa. Okay, so we have all this sugar in this country. All right. Okay, look at this. Between 2018 and 2019, we exported 939,682 tons of sugar. Whoa, said the figures properly. All right. And one made approximately 1.5 to 2 billion rand. Okay, a year. That's what we make a year for ours. It can be even higher, but that's just the average. Okay, a year from exports. Massive amount of money. All right, from exports. I just use those figures there and I can show you here. All right, on this graph, on this table rather, the amount that was made, international market in tons, massive amount. All right, Let's go on. And why are we not going on? Yes, some factors favoring, and again, it's a lot of the same factors. It showed you the amount of money. It's used at home and export market. Okay, right. A well-developed commercial farmers. You saw those 1,100 some odd farmers compared to 20,000. They produce 90% of the sugar. It needs labor supply, as again I said, directly on the farms in the secondary activity where you're making those lovely chocolates. You understand? They get manufactured. All right, now I'm feeling for sweet. Hi. I'm really suffering through this presentation with all the good food. Okay, so chocolate, etc. All right, so labor supply in there and the tertiary sector. Okay, ongoing research that's happening all the time. We're one of the world's large production or producers of sugar, so research is encouraged a lot. Good infrastructure, transport. Okay, we even here we can pick on the port that's found in Durban. You understand, where we can send our sugar off by ship. Okay, that will become sweet chips also. All right, so we send in our sugar mills. Can you see there's a sugar mill? Yeah. Okay, that's there. And I'm gonna move this head a bit. All right, I hope I can move it. And you can see the infrastructure in the country here. Learners, all those lines leading to the whole area. All right. So that'll be for beef, okay, for maize, and for your sugar. And if your sugar is here, okay, you can see the infrastructure, and we're next to the harbors that can export the stuff. Okay. I'm looking at the chocolates. Let me switch quickly again. All right. But I have to explain some stuff. Sorry. So I have to stick my torture of those chocolates. All right. Parts of South Africa receive consistently more than 500 millimeters of rainfall a year. Example, KwaZulu Natal. More along the coastal region. And maybe I should write coast here. I must do some practice also. Okay, and I'm going to put an A here. All right, in terms of my coast. Right, I hope you're enjoying my writing. Okay, the coastal regions receive a lot of rainfall. Okay, and sunny, frost free areas along the eastern part of South Africa. All right, Durban does not have frost. And I wonder if they get frost one day, they make frost men, I'm sure. Okay, but they don't get frost, which is suitable for uh, sugarcane production. And of course, it's required by the secondary sector as shown by these chocolates. Let me switch this quickly before these chocolates torture me further. Okay, some factors hindering. Okay, droughts. Can you see it? All right, huge factor, and it results in less exports because then we're using here. I'm going to talk about this. Approximately 25% of sugarcane is produced by irrigated farms. All right, they don't have the natural farms are irrigated by humans. You understand? So 25% of the total, which is a quarter. Okay, so therefore, it's a high demand for water in those regions. Okay, because it's irrigated. Okay, and they put pressure on limited resources available. Okay, because of competition with other crops. Other crops also need water, human water use, and of course, the frequent droughts. So we do need water supply. You understand? And sometimes the droughts make it worse. When even if it's stored water during droughts, you find the levels decrease because no water is being supplied into those storage dams, etc. Okay, and of course the other consumption still continues. So it's a huge thing, droughts, and of course the reliance on water, 25% on irrigated farms, etc. Okay, pests, okay, like your grasshoppers, create havoc on these sugarcane farms. And that is why you notice this, they're actually using drones now, learners, all right, to actually spray the crops. so it can keep away the insects, etc. Quite interesting. Of course, the increased cost of farming, which is another thing that all three have the same. Fluctuating prices make it a problem. Up, down all the time. How much to invest in it? And you invest a lot, suddenly the price goes down. Problem again here. All right. Sugarcane is grown as a single crop. Okay, that's what we talk about monoculture. And each time you're drawing out the same nutrients by planting the same crop, right, from the soil. Okay, and it could result in the soil becoming poorer and less farming land. Okay, in order to buy more land is always a problem. Look, many of the commercial farmers will take steps to ensure that they put the nutrients back. But sometimes it's still a challenge which hinders farming as such in terms of single crop farming, monoculture. Okay, right. Importance of sugarcane. It's consumed by most South Africans, maybe not so much of the diabetics, etc., who may not use the full thing from the sugar itself. They use alternatives, but it's consumed by most. But even those diabetics, I promise you, when they see those chocolates and no one is watching, they're eating, so they're taking in sugar. All right. It creates employment, as we said, indirectly in the farming sector, secondary sector to make those chocolates, tertiary sector to actually sell the chocolates, whatever it's happening. It serves as a raw material, again, here, okay, like the other two products, but the different examples like cakes and chocolates need the sugar. And you know, I don't need to even explain this. It earns foreign exchange, a huge amount of foreign exchange. All right. Okay. That money coming in. Also encourages development. Okay. Example for of other industries rather. Example, fertilizer and farm equipment. All these things supplied. All right. And therefore the production there, and therefore these companies, as sugar increases, more of these companies are coming out. So all three products play a huge part in the South African economy for our balance of trade, to create a positive balance of trade, etc., or to try to move towards a positive balance of trade. Okay, it plays a big part. All right. And that is why they are so important. Okay, let's look at a DBE past paper, learners, because we need to apply it, and that's always our style. We don't just get impressed by those chocolates and the piece of steak and the beef farming. We need to apply it in order to prepare for exams. So let's read this. Of course, again, our little heading. All right, figure 3.5 is beef farming. Gives us direction already. Things flow through ahead about beef farming. All right, in 2016, South Africa became a net red meat exporter. Good news for South Africa for the first time. Okay, can you see how much beef we eat here? Supplying mainly cheap beef market. Okay, but in 2016, the global red meat exports amounted to 9.4 million tons. Brazil led the way with 1.8 million tons. So, what has happened here? 9.4 million tons was the overall exports for the world, with Brazil being 1.8 million tons. So, they're the most, or 19.6% of the total. South Africa ranked 15th with 60,000 tons. Not bad, 15th. All right, with 0.4% of the world. Recent drought, whoa, not nice. Okay, in the country, it showed how crucial it was for the beef industry, the country's beef industry, all right, to stop exporting, okay, and to stop focusing on exporting only cheap beef. By exporting higher quality beef, our industry can protect itself from shocks that result in reduce tariffs. So what he's saying there is, because it's cheap, you're not getting so much money in, we should be exporting more high quality beef at better prices, so more money is coming in. And when these tragedies happen like droughts, we have more funding available. It must be noted, however, that the current high beef price in South Africa, the country will be unable to compete against the likes of Brazil, all right, and other top exporters because of the high price. Brazil can be the bosses. They can play with their prices. And each time we want to sell our beef, they can reduce the price. You understand? So we can't, we find it so difficult to compete with them. Okay, so we went through the article. And one thing again, you most probably will find something from the article that will be useful. That is what the examiners do. Remember that. Okay, in all your sections. So let's look at it here. First one. Which country had the highest exportation of beef in 2016? Can you see that was part of the article? It was written there, learners. Can you see that? It said Brazil, okay, led the way. So we got our answer there. It's good, eh? Answers marks for nothing. Brazil. Quote evidence from the extract that suggests that the beef industry is growing in South Africa. All right. Why? We can only export if we have enough in the country. And when South Africa started exporting in 2016, meant that our beef industry grew, that we supplied the country, and we was able to uh, actually export. So the phrase there was South Africa became the net red meat exporter for the first time, taken directly from the article. Okay, learners. Right, let's go on. Refer to the statement below. All right, by exporting higher quality beef, our industry can protect itself from shocks that result in reduced profit. Okay, that's the first one. Okay, now, what does exportation of low quality beef, why does, why does the exportation of low quality beef reduce profits? Now, what I'm picking up on this, and that is why I put this in, okay? It's brought in exportation of high quality, exportation of low quality, all right? And these words that come out, you say, but I didn't cover this. But you have. And sometimes you have to think out of the box, all right? And some of these questions, they're not difficult. It comes from there, all right? Low quality beef sold at low prices. High quality beef sold at high prices. So look at the wording also, learners, in order to get your answer. So let's look at the answer. Makes less money as poor quality beef does not fetch high prices. Can you see? It's logical. So don't get shocked. You know, sometimes we learn it in parrot fashion, as we say. We just learn our notes, therefore we can't apply it. Read into the question on what it's saying, and you'll be able to answer it. Okay. So countries buy less as a result of the poor quality. One of them, it brings in less money. And on the other hand, if it's poor quality, country doesn't want to buy it. They want good quality for their people. All right, that's one of them. Okay. Then B, we talk about here, and I don't have the question here. I must apologize for that. It says improve breeding programs and research, prevent overstocking, all right, of does not exceed the carrying capacity. These are measures that can be introduced, all right, in terms of protecting or improving the beef industry. So my apologies here, all right, for not having the question. I do apologize, learners, but ways of improving the beef industry. Can you see it? And of course, reducing things like death rate, etc. Okay, can you see here? Industrial beef cattle farming. Okay, regulation of vaccinations to prevent diseases. Can you see it? All important. Eh? Regular health checks for cattle. Besides you having a health check, they must have a health check. All right. Free range farming improves quality of beef. means free range, allow them to eat on the natural vegetation. Can you see? So my apologies for the question, learners, but ways of improving bee farming would probably be the question down here. All right. So we look at others, genetically modified species and scientific methods to improve stock yields. Okay, by having genetically modified, we find cattle become stronger. All right. Okay, and the yields are bigger cattle, etc. All right, because it's genetically modified. Increase education and skills of farmers, okay, for food and development. So when you teach them more skills, they'll be able to implement better methods on the farm, less cattle dying, better quality cattle, okay, more agricultural officers to educate small scale farmers, okay, who are farming on a smaller scale for commercial basis. Send advisors like agricultural officers, okay, that will go there and will advise them. Listen, this is what you can do to improve your production, okay. Excess funding to improve mechanization and technology. Okay, put funding forward that we have more technology being introduced, finding new methods. You understand? So it improves it, more technology, better quality cattle, better survival of cattle. Okay, milking of cattle, etc. All these things will be there. Government subsidies and grants will improve processing techniques, so more of that, all right? Processing techniques, processing of cattle, etc., into various other products. If we have more of this, it will help. Accelerate process of land reform. Okay, of course, if the focus giving back land, you've done in settlement geography, land restitution, land redistribution, etc. Okay, give it, but of course, it needs to be intelligently done. Okay, when we're giving back land, to be used for farming, we need to help farmers financially, educate them in regarding the skills so that more can come in, not just pass over the land. Okay, it's very, very important. People in South Africa have intelligent minds, and if we educate them about the importance of farming, etc., you understand, of bee farming, and we get them involved, we provide the funding, we can go forward and increase the production. Okay, improved pasturage and feeding will result in healthier cattle. Okay, so learners, please note the question was improving beef farming. Okay, I don't have the question in front of me, but we're going to assume it. How could we improve beef farming in the country? And once again, my apologies for not writing. I think it was those steaks and the chocolates that took my mind off it when I was fitting those in. All right, it made me too hungry, therefore I left the question out. Okay, my apologies. Okay. Right. Then the next question, write a paragraph of approximately 8 lines. And once again, I'm saying, all right, it's about 8 lines. It can be more or less depending on the size of your writing. Some of your writing is so big, you can use remote sensing and gets identified from outer space there. Okay, so you'll use more lines. All right, 8 lines explaining factors preventing South Africa from being competitive with other top beef exporters. Watch the words. Explaining South Africa, preventing South Africa. Factors preventing. Important word here, learners. When learners answered this paper, significant number did not look at the word preventing, and they just went factors favoring. All right. It's preventing. Watch the words. So important. You know your work. You understand. But because you have not actually read properly, you can have a problem, learners. So it's preventing, it's stopping us, all right, from becoming more competitive, stopping us from competing with the top beef exporters like Brazil. What are the factors? Again, it's straight from your notes. Factors hindering, etc. All right, look at this. Water shortages. Didn't we deal with droughts? Reduces stock numbers. Okay. Regular droughts reduce the amount and quality of stock for exports. Can you see it? It's phrased in different ways, which means we can take droughts and explain it in different ways. We'll get the marks. Small scale subsistence and commercial farmers can result in less production. So we need to encourage them to produce more. So examiners have been nice. Can you see they give you so many alternatives? Okay, so you sit as long as you put in a full thing. You understand? You explained it fully. You don't just write water shortages and that's it. No, it says explain. Water shortages reduce stock numbers. Regular droughts reduce the amount of and quality of stock for exports. Can you see? You have to explain it fully, learners. That is the important thing. Commercial farmers abandon their farms and beef production decreases. Could be for various reasons, drought or their money loss, etc. Huge demand for beef within South Africa decreases exports. Can you see what we're doing, learners? We are taking those points, all right, that we've learned, okay, that the consumption in the country is high, and we're applying it to our answer. Can you see? We just tweaked it a bit and made it correct for our answer and explained it fully. Low government subsidies push up prices, all right, because we don't subsidize in our country. That's another point. Okay, an external point down here, but you will have enough from your notes to write. Okay, we can see there's a whole lot of points here. All right, so you have enough. If it's 4 points, you have 4 points already. But the examiner has to give all the alternatives. You understand? Because people may have read something in a paper. You may have read something in a paper. Right. Large distance to overseas markets increase costs of exportation. Can you see how we think along the way? Could have read that. Okay. So expensive to refrigerate beef products during transportation. It is expensive. You pay a lot of money. All right. Because these things have to be frozen. Otherwise, it's not going to be nice when it gets there. Cattle diseases, can you see foot and mouth? Mad cow disease reduces meat for exports. Can you see? It's all in the notes. Low quality natural grazing reduces the amount of stock. An additional point. All right. Now, you don't have to know all the points, learners. Remember, if you know 4 to 5 points, you are fine because there's no more than 4 points because it's out of the most points you can get is four. In a paragraph question, which is out of 8, you have to give 4 points. So I would say if you know 5 proper points, you understand, it must be, if they could ask you economic, social, you need to know 5 of each. But sometimes if it's general like this, 5 points and you got your stuff. You don't have to learn 20 points. Okay. Unclear land reform policies. Okay. Where maybe land is just given. Okay, slows down beef production. Okay, of course, land needs to be given back. All right, there's nothing wrong with land reform policies, as you learn. People have lost their land over the years. You understand? But it has to be done in a proper way that would encourage activity, that will promote economic activity in our country. Stock theft reduces the amount of stock which happens in our country. Increased cost of fodder. Remember, we said increased cost of the farmer. We brought in here the fodder, maybe the fertilizer. It becomes more expensive. Felt fires. Okay, remember you've done all those things before, eh? Regarding bug winds, etc. Felt fires are common in our country. Okay, which can damage natural grazing field and even kill animals. Medication against the disease is expensive, which increases the costs. All right. Poor exchange rates reduces profits for beef farmers and depending where they are selling. All right. And sometimes these poor exchange rates where the value is lower means they're getting less money into the country when it's exchanged. Price fluctuations. Can you see that also? So out of this price fluctuations, it's hard. Reduces profit if the money goes, if the price goes down, less profit. Can you see out of this whole list of all these factors, you have quite a few in your notes already. It means taking it, tweaking it a bit. I use the word tweaking, I like that. Tweaking it a bit and making it appropriate to what the question asks for. Okay, so that's how you answer. Let us, we've now done the main products in terms of our agriculture. I hope you enjoyed the lesson and I hope you liked looking at that piece of steak. I know you will be at school and at the moment watching this program. Don't bunk school. Make sure you finish. Try and contact your parents after that as you're going home to make that steak for you because I'm going to go now and have a piece of steak. Whoa, I'm hungry. All right. Then it's all the best. Goodbye.